To paraphrase the poet Ellen Bryan Voight, the human subconscious seeks out patterns in music and prose in order to establish a certain level of comfort, and then takes pleasure in the variations within those patterns. The most important marker of pattern in written prose is the sentence. Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian is a difficult, violent, sometimes confusing novel, but it sticks in my craw like Melville, luminous and prophetic. As in Moby Dick, much of the power of Blood Meridian flows from the terrible beauty of its language. McCarthy's sentences embody a sense of forward motion, prophecy, and violence. They contain evil and death, and even the actual devil. They describe a world where dark clouds stream overhead like thundering horsemen, and savages feast on human flesh, and night descends like an executioner's hood over the land. They're like horses galloping across the plain, rushing toward murder and death, and a headlong plummet to hell. Because I was so taken by McCarthy's unique prose style, I marked a number of paragraphs that seemed to contain especially musical and or vivid sentences. Upon rereading these, I found that they tended to fall into one of two basic structural categories. Type 1, a few short sentences followed by a longer riff. The sun that rises is the color of steel. His mounted shadow falls for miles before him. He wears on his head a hat he's made from leaves, and they have dried and cracked in the sun, and he looks like a raggedy man wandered from some garden where he'd used to frighten birds. And type 2 paragraph is a long sentence followed by a few shorter ones. A pair of horses drew the cart, and they went on up the road in a faint miasma of carbolic and passed from sight. He turned and watched them go. The naked feet of the dead jostle stiffly from side to side. You might think of a type 1 paragraph as sort of boiling over, and a type 2 paragraph as closing in. Now, obviously, these patterns are simply the inverse of each other, and it could be argued that the only real pattern here is rhythmic, short sentences alternating with long for variety and to avoid boring the reader. But for me, the two paragraph types are also qualitatively different in the emotional effects that they achieve. Let's read one more example of each to see if we can draw some conclusions. Here's a type 1. Now come days of begging, days of theft, days of riding where there rode no soul save he. He's left behind the pinewood country, and the evening sun declines before him beyond an endless swale, and dark falls here like a thunderclap, and a cold wind sets the weeds to gnashing. The night sky lies so sprent with stars that there is scarcely space of black at all, and they fall at night in bitter arcs, and it is so their numbers are no less. And here's another type 2. The wheels shrank, and the spokes reeled in their hubs and clattered like loom shafts, and at night they drive false spokes into the mortises and tie them down with strips of green hide, and they drive wedges between the iron of the tires and the sun-cracked felloes. They wobbled on, the trace of their untrue labors like sidewander tracks in the sand. The dullage pegs worked loose and dropped behind. Wheels began to break up. So hopefully you can feel that. It's subtle, but I think there's a real difference. A type 1 paragraph with its lengthening sentences creates an impression of initially suppressed feeling boiling over in a cascade of vivid images. A type 2 paragraph gives us an opening sentence or sentences that create a feeling of driving motion, with the short sentences at the end arresting that motion and giving us a sense of closing in on a single image, isolating and emphasizing it, and thereby giving it a greater impact. So boiling over versus closing in. If you're a writer, there's a thing that you can use. Find key passages in your own work where you can work on varying the length of the sentences within a paragraph to create either a boiling over or a closing in effect, depending on what you want the story to feel like in that particular moment. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, and you want to see others like it, please hit the like button and become a subscriber to my YouTube page. And if you would like to receive occasional emails about online writing classes and travel programs, feel free to send me a message via the contact form at my website, timweed.net. Have a great day.